A pleasant day to everyone, especially to our professors, Sir Brian Susana. Today, I am going to explain the importance of the alignment of the content standards, performance standards, and learning competencies. But before that, let's check first the definition of these terms to find out how they are connected with each other. TED standards define what students are expected to know, which is the knowledge or the facts and information, what they should be able to do with what they know, which refers to the process or skills, and the meanings or understandings that they construct or make as they process the facts and information. Thus, the content standards answer the question, what do students want to know, be able to do, and understand? An example of a content standard in grade 6 math is the learner demonstrates understanding of the four fundamental operations involving fractions and decimals. Under each content standard are performance standards. Performance standards define the expected proficiency level, which is expressed in two ways. First, students should be able to use their learning or understanding in real-life situations. And second, they should be able to do this on their own. Students are expected to produce products and/or performances as evidence that they can transfer or use their learning in real-life situations. The performance standards answer the questions, what do we want students to do with their learning or understanding, and how do we want them to use their learning or understanding? An example of a performance standard in grade 6 math is the learner is able to apply the four fundamental operations involving fractions and decimals in mathematical problems and real-life situations. Comprising the performance standards are learning competencies. According to the Department of Education, learning competencies refer to the knowledge, understanding, skills, and attitudes that students need to demonstrate in every lesson and/or learning activity. The learning competencies can be adopted in the teaching learning plan as instructional objectives. Here is an example of a learning competency in grade 6 math. The learner adds and subtracts simple fractions and mixed numbers without or with regrouping. In this time of COVID-19 pandemic, the Department of Education has released MELCs or Most Essential Learning Competencies as part of its response to develop resilient education systems during emergencies such as the COVID-19. MELCs simply refer to the most essential or indispensable competencies that learners must acquire amidst the COVID-19 crisis. At this point, let's bring content standard, performance standard, and learning competency together and examine them. What have you noticed about them? Yes, they are matched or connected with each other. Here, the content standard specifies what a student needs to learn. The performance standard indicates how a student will use his or her learning or understanding to meet the content standard. And the learning competency describes one of the skills that a student needs to demonstrate based on the content and performance standards. In other words, there is an alignment among the three, right? Now, why is it important to align content standards, performance standards, and learning competencies? First, to be at par with international standards and make our students globally competitive. Before K-12, the Philippines was the last country in Asia and one of the 3 countries in the world to have a 10-year basic education cycle. Our adoption of the K-12 program has made our basic education system at par with the international standards, which will help our graduates become globally competitive. Because our K-12 curriculum is standards and competence-based, alignment of content standards, performance standards, and learning competencies is crucial in equipping our students with the right knowledge, skills, and values necessary for them to become globally competitive in the labor market. This alignment is in fact a fundamental condition for a functional standards-based educational system. Second, spiral progression of our K-12 curriculum or the MELCs. We all know that our K-12 curriculum uses a spiral progression approach to ensure mastery of knowledge and skills after each grade level. Spiral progression follows the idea that concepts are introduced at early age and deepened in succeeding years. This approach absolutely requires alignment of the content standards, performance standards, and learning competencies. Without this alignment, the spiral curriculum won't be able to serve its purpose of helping students gain mastery of knowledge and skills. Third, guide learners and educators for some standardized assessments or evaluation. Assessment should be based on the interconnection between content standards, performance standards, and learning competencies to have accurate information on how well the students have attained the expected knowledge and skills. If content standards, performance standards, and learning competencies are not congruent, then assessment becomes confusing both for the learners and educators because they don't know what it is expected to measure. Hence, we cannot ascertain if learners really meet the standards. And that concludes my report today. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye!